Today is Saturday, May 10th, 2025. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is the listener feedback show for Survivor 48, Week 11.
We did a recap on Wednesday, and now on Saturday, we check in with the superfans, see what they thought about it, maybe some observations they had, something we missed, because we don't catch everything. We're taking notes, furiously scribbling while trying to watch the episode, and then we crank out a recap show, just sort of set up the listener feedback show on Saturday.
I'm aware. You're looking at me like I didn't.
Well, you didn't jump right in.
Oh, okay. You wanted me to jump in.
I wasn't sure what your reaction was either. So, in any case, we're here to check in with the fans. Hopefully, get some predictions too as we come to the penultimate episode next. And but before we move on to that, we want to see what people thought about Week 11, Episode 11. Do we have any business?
I don't believe so.
Okay. No updates. We're good to go. How many super fans?
21.
21.
I believe, or I think.
If we can count. We're going to kick it off with Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling here. Well, I love the strategy. I was very disappointed 2 weeks in a row with the outcome, but I let out a great big oh man, I cannot believe my mind, guys. I feel like I'm almost watching some adult seasons of the 20s. Well, you know, the season that Boston Rob won in Redemption Island, South Pacific One World, Cian Wandel third. That's what this 48 season is reminding me of. I mean, not that I'm huge on the new era, but I've liked almost all the seasons of the new era with all the back and forth, but I don't like what's been going on since the merge with this episode. I mean, the David Blind side was great a couple weeks ago, but now a lot of predictability here with most of the holdouts, and especially these last two. Why would you truly get rid of Mary now? Again, okay, Mary definitely was more likable than Sai in terms of jury votes and management, but let's face it, she hasn't won any challenges, just like Sai did, and even Mitch for that matter, and I love Mitch. I know Stacey's hanging on by a thread there for you, because he's your USB, right? I just don't get it. I was so dumbfounded and fooled by Yeti. Carmella looked like her and Kyle were going to turn the tables there on Joe and vote with Mary and Mitch to get rid of him, finally. And now it's just too simple now. Eva got the idol. You know now, because she'll play it next episode, whether it's for herself or Joe, and especially if one of them wins immunity, they'll forget it, almost a guarantee to make the finale in Final Five. Shahin, I think he's in La La Land. I mean, part of me thinks he could win, but he's getting a little bit cocky, thinking he could win against Joe. Definitely Eva. Eva's going to get no votes, I think, if she's at the end. Joe could win if it's him, Shahin, and Eva, which I think could happen. But however, if it's Kyle or Carmella, I'm hoping those two could somehow turn the table. I think they could either get rid of Joe or Eva, one of them, and beat them at the end, I think. Even Shahin. I mean, I'm keeping my hopes up with one of those two winning. Because Mitch, let's face it, unless he pulls off a miraculous win next week, he's a dead duck, unfortunately. And I apologize, Stacey, but
No
the way
problem.
it's looking, everyone is just so afraid of Joe, and I don't get it. I love really, though, that Carmella won immunity. That was awesome that she beat him by a thread at the very end, and probed some, even made a mistake, and I thought that was smart by taking Eva to keep her calm and to keep her on her side and to give Mitch food. That was smart with the reward, but in the end they took the easy route and Mary was unanimously voted out. I gotta check out her interviews, and she's probably gonna say too how dumb some of these guys are too, but hopefully things get a little better as we got a couple episodes left and then the finale. Alright guys, take care and happy Mother's Day to all the moms. Woo!
Whoa, thanks, Pete. Actually, Camilla said that she treated herself with grace and she asked for grace for all her fellow competitors that were out there playing their first time, because there's been some pretty intense backlash that some of these folks have been dealing with. Some of them evidently, according to Mary, been getting death threats.
You said Camilla.
Oh, I meant Mary. Sorry.
Oh, that's
Mary
why
asked
I was
for grace.
confused.
I looked up at the roster, and I think I looked right at Camilla, and then that came out of my mouth.
Okay.
See Camilla, say Camilla.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry about that
I guess
confusion.
I didn't hear all
Mary
of what you said
in
'cause I was
her
like,
interviews.
huh?
Yeah,
Mary in her interviews, death threats?
yeah, some of them.
Well,
I guess
that's certainly not the
you got to
first
guess
time on Survivor.
that might have been directed at Say. She did confess that Mary was not having fun when she was there on Vula and having to deal with all of Say's stalking her basically and staying on top of her and hounding her. She said, I had to convince myself I was having fun. I had to gaslight myself to deal with the discomfort that all that provided. And similar to Star, she just felt so isolated at the end. She said two things. It felt so good to be welcomed at Ponderosa because they all showed up for her when she got there. And that was such a great feeling in contrast to what she'd been dealing with in the game. And she said that towards the end, she felt like her soul was tired. And I got to think something similar is going on with Mitch, too. Yeah, when she's clawing and scraping and trying and meeting with everybody over and over and over and over and trying to pitch things, and she gets no traction. She's got no agency. All this time, after the beatdown she took on Vula,
it's just
last
like
Vula
a brick
standing.
wall.
Yeah. And granted, it's not actually a lot of time, but relatively when you're experiencing out there and it's nonstop, it grinds on you. And she said she felt all ground down.
Did she say anything about all the coconuts she ate?
No. She said I had perfectly fine coconut etiquette. I don't think she expressed any regrets about how she managed herself. Like, you go see the extra scene about the coconuts, and it sounds like she was going at it even more than they depicted in the episode. Yeah. That it was...
Kyle said she ate 4 coconuts in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And ate them up. They had to go searching for coconuts.
He said they were running low, and when they brought some back, she promptly opened another one and started eating it. So she wasn't making any friends. She also said after the game was over, several of them came up to her and said, sorry that we shut you out so hard. Nobody wanted to sit against you at the end. We all thought that you were a huge threat in the end game if you had made it to final tribal council. So that's
she
what
made
I
a lot of really
now.
Good arguments and points.
Oh, she also said there was nothing going on between her and David. And what had happened was that David and Eva and Mary, when they ended up on New Lagi, on the new tribe together, that they made a pact that they were going to work together and help out each other. And that Eva had also said that she was going to use the idol that Star gave her for them. That's why she had no qualms about asking Eva if she would play it on her, because Eva had said that before. So that might be something that comes back up in the old honesty, integrity quizzes for some people.
Yeah, possibly.
Thanks, Pete. Next up, we got an email from Tara in New York. Hi, Joanna, Stacy, and Survivor friends. Here we go again. Unlike you both, I was actually more disappointed with this episode than the last. In my mind, the final 7 is when big moves take place. We even saw Operation Italy happen last season at 7. Oh, that's a great callback. Good point. When Kyle said that he had made his choice to ride with Camilla, I said, finally, it's happening. Then, nada. It's just infuriating to watch these people throw away their games. I've never had a full-on screaming hissy fit watching my TV, but I did this week, and I even had Mary as my vote out in JSFL. Now that I've regained my composure, I'm just confused. It feels like the editing this season is somehow off, but I can't put my finger on it. Are we really supposed to be cheering for Joe and Eva? They both act more entitled and arrogant every week. Eva came back from her journey and threw her power in everyone's faces. Later, it almost seemed like Joe was expecting Shahin or Mitch to offer themselves up as a backup plan when Mary said she was voting for him. If Joe or Eva were to win the season, I would think they'd be shown in a better light. Speaking of weird editing, this may be nothing, but I wanted to run it by all of you. After Mary's coconut etiquette scene, Kyle, Camilla, Joe, and Eva are all shown talking about her in the shelter. We hear Kyle say, "She's probably eaten the most food by far." Since that makes absolutely no sense at all, I went back to watch it again, and Kyle's lips don't match the audio. Maybe he's just using vulgar language, but why not just bleep it out? It's just more strange editing, so I thought it was worth noting. Go definitely check out that the secret scene there. I think that'll add all the context we need for that. Anywho, unless something crazy happens next week, it looks like Joe and Eva are destined for the final 3. Shahin, Kyle, and Camilla are all gamers, so why haven't they made a move? Maybe they see something we don't, and we were all in for a surprise. Or maybe they all think they can beat Joe and Eva with a bitter jury at the end. Otherwise, they are just allowing Joe to charge on to a boring victory with Eva at his side. Now that I've finished my rant, I can say I loved seeing Camilla win the challenge. Also, David stoically standing up to salute Mary while Star and Cedric held back laughter in the background was hilarious. The preview for next week looks interesting, so I'm cautiously optimistic. It seems as if Shahin or even Kyle could be in trouble, but I'm still holding out hope for a blind side on Joe or Eva. I can't wait to hear everyone's different perspectives and feedback after losing Mary. Thanks, Joanna Stacy, for all you do. Even after bad episodes, the podcast is so much fun. I'm thrilled to hear that Jennifer's out of the hospital as well. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks, Tara. Next up, we got a call from Robert.
Hey, Joanna Stacy and Survivor fans. This is Robert from Canada calling in. I found this episode this week actually fairly enjoyable. Definitely better than the previous week, even though it was a little bit predictable. And I'm sure part of my enjoyment stems from the fact that I got another vote-off point, which propelled me to the top of the side challenge, so there's definitely that. I feel like this episode, though, it did deliver a bit more insight into some of the people in the game and how they view themselves and how they view their game overall, especially Shahin. It's interesting that he thinks he's playing a good enough game to stand on its own. He doesn't necessarily need to make a big move. And we haven't necessarily been shown that, and I suspect that there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that in a little bit. I think Mitch has gone from having a chance to win to having absolutely no chance to win pretty quickly. Yeah. And Camilla had a really great episode, but I think unless she can rally to make a move next week, I think with her puzzle-solving skills and her residing outside of the Strong Alliance, she could definitely find herself in some trouble. I didn't really care for the journey this week. It seemed rather pointless, and I was actually shocked that Eva was even considering going for the advantage. I know she's a competitor, but it just seemed like not a great move because, first, advantages are so public nowadays that having knowledge is power for her was pointless. And then also her risking her vote, if people were wanting to play the game and make a move, that could have had catastrophic consequences. So I was a little bit surprised to see her even consider going for it. And then you guys mentioned about her kicking the structure down before the sand went out. She definitely did. We rewound it because I was surprised. They even showed the sand timer in the view, and it definitely said on the paper that has to be standing when the sand timer goes out. So it's funny how rules sometimes in Survivor can be rigid and then sometimes flexible. I feel like they're probably more flexible than rigid at times, so I'm not super surprised. Obviously, she cleared it with the producers or whatever that were on the scene, but I was a bit surprised by that, and I thought it would have been funny at Tribal Council for her to find out that she didn't have a vote. The way Eva explained the journey to everyone when she got back to camp, I think clearly showed the faults with her social game, and for me, it put her clearly into a number 2 position behind Joe if both of them make it to the end of the game. I think it was kind of poor jury management and not a great way to talk about how great you are and how good you're doing in the game, how other people suck, they're not a part of your alliance, and it was just not a good social move, I would say. For my prediction for next week, I think Kyle's made it pretty clear that he's not really willing to vote against Joe due to their bond, but I think he does want to have his number one, Camilla, as part of the sort of the stronger alliance. So who would be the one to go in that case? I think it's Shahin, and I think the seeds have already been planted for that, and unfortunately he's my USB. So that's my current prediction for next week, but I look forward to hearing all the other fans' feedback, and you guys just take care.
All right. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, it's who's in the running right now. Obviously, Mitch is, maybe Camilla, but maybe Mitch or Shahin, because they had initially said, the Strong Alliance had said it would be Mary then Mitch. So Mitch or Shahin are kind of on the line this week. And if Kyle and Camilla take some big risks, obviously they would be on the radar too at that point. But from what we could guess so far, Shahin and Mitch. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Robert. Next up, we got an email from Mary in New Jersey.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy and Survivor fans. It's Mary, also known as Scary from New Jersey, but this time I'm coming to you from Rochester, New York, where yesterday I had the pleasure of watching my daughter Libby graduate from RIT.
Nice.
That's why I'm coming in just under the wire. We really celebrated last night. Although I knew Mary was going and even predicted it in my feedback last week, at the last minute, I switched my vote to Mitch, hoping my USB Mary would win immunity or come up with a last-minute plan. Well, she didn't have a prayer of immunity, and she did have a plan that the others should have listened to, but to no avail. It looks like Joe and Eva are sliding right into the finals with Mitch and Camilla in denial of where they are in the group of four. Let's count. My husband, on the other hand, went bold.
Yes.
Having Mary safe and Eva going home. He says Stacy inspires him to go bold. Maybe he should start listening to me or Joanne.
No, go bold.
This week, I'm afraid the pagonging will continue and we'll see Mitch exit. I'm cheering for Camilla now, but even she needs to open her eyes.
Yeah.
If Joe isn't immune, that should be a simple vote. But unfortunately, they may have blown their only chance, since either Eva or Joe have a high chance of winning immunity and or having some sort of advantage to cover each other. Such a disappointment for a season that started with so much promise. As always, thanks for all you do, Joanne and Stacy. I cannot imagine enjoying this Survivor experience so much without you and all the other super fans. Take care and talk to you later. And she says she sent this while they're driving to Canada. Well, safe travels, Mary.
Yes.
Have a great time.
Yep, we got a great thing going here, great community. It just makes it 10 times, 20 times more enjoyable, huh? 100 times.
Yes.
Because it helps, because people will show you things that you didn't see, you weren't aware of, because they come at it from a different perspective and can see things we can't. Good deal. Thanks, Scary. Next up, we got a call from Rebecca.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Rebecca calling from Northern California with my feedback for the latest confusing episode of Survivor. I am reminded of Ghost Island, season 36, when Wendell and Dominic were the front runners neck and neck the entire season. Everybody loved them. There seemed to be no way to beat them. And every single week for like 4 weeks in a row, Laurel would say, I have to make a move. I have to make a move. I'm going to make a move. And then she'd do nothing. And it's kind of like we're watching that all over again with season 48. It's annoying to see everybody plot and say, gonna do something, gotta do something, must do something, and then they do nothing. And on one hand, yeah, it's annoying and frustrating, but on the other hand, is Joe just outplaying everybody because he has charmed everybody so much and his social game is so strong that they can't even conceive of voting him out. Us super fans who watch from the couch, if I ever were to play Survivor, my ultimate Survivor fantasy as a contestant would be, they all love me so much, they cannot ever vote me out. And what would they do without Rebecca? And then I win. So maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe they just can't fathom voting out a guy they like too much. And the same with Eva, because those two are very outspoken about that they are a duo, as outspoken as hidden as Kyle and Camilla are. I don't know, maybe they're just so darn good at out loyaling and out personalitying everybody else that nobody can conceive of voting them out. And maybe that's how you win. And maybe that's how they're going to win this year, or this season rather. I would really love to see a move being made. It would be so exciting. And even though I love watching Joe play and I love watching Eva play, I was rooting for them to do something. And I was very disappointed when they did nothing, even though I got full points because I was pretty sure Mary was going. A quick note about Mary's departure. When David stood up in honor and solidarity to watch the fallen soldier leave, I was actually laughing and going, oh, sit down. It's not an honor walk. She didn't just donate all her organs. She just didn't get flown in from Afghanistan. She got voted out of Survivor, dude. When she saw it back, because she didn't see it happening in real time, but when she saw it back, she was just laughing, going, oh, come on, sit down, dude. David's posturing and mead mugging, it's gold. TV gold, baby. Anywho, I have no idea what's going to happen next. I see Camilla and Kyle plotting to say Shahin is up to something, but didn't they do that a couple of weeks ago? They said he had an idol, he was up to something, he's doing something, he's conjuring up something. Maybe this is the week that it blows up in their faces. I really would like the final five, however, to be Eva, Joe, Shahin, Kyle, and Camilla. I would love to see Joe win at Final Four, and I'd love to see him put himself in fire so he actually really deserves to win. Like he's like, hey man, I gotta do something. It would be very interesting. I love that my USB is still in the game. I love that I still have 2 points left on every player. Yay! I spaced them out pretty well. And I remain frustrated that the edit is completely misleading, as I'm sure everybody else will say in their feedback. Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye, Joanne and Stacy. Thank you for everything.
Thanks, Rebecca. I like that callback. That's great. To Laurel. She was just infuriating. You remember that? It was so hard watching her talk about what she was going to do and never show up every week.
Well,
it does feel like that. That's the perfect comparison.
Yeah, I do think Camilla knows what needs to be done. She just is, in a lot of respects, like Mary. She can't get anybody to do anything. Mm-hmm. She can't get the numbers. And if you don't have the numbers, you can't do it.
Yes, it is that simple. It's pretty straightforward math. Who knows? Maybe we'll see, like folks are saying, maybe we'll see some traction this week. They're hinting at it at next time on Survivor. So could be. Thanks, Rebecca. Next up, we got a call from Ryan.
Hello, Joanna Stacy. This is Ryan from Central Iowa. Good episode. Not great. It was just good. Mary started playing an interesting game beginning of this episode, trying to find a space and a place for herself, trying to get people to vote with her. Eva, I was a little worried that she was going to keep going after 4. I kept saying to myself, stop. You gotta stop. Because the advantage wasn't going to help her. And then she comes back and no filter again. She just comes out and just, I'm so glad nobody else got to go because, it wouldn't be good if you went. I like the challenge a lot. Kyle thought he had it. I think Jeff asked him, yell out the word. I have to go back and watch it, but I'm pretty sure that Jeff was the one that blew it for him because I think he did that great job, Camilla, going hard and never stopping in the challenge. My greatest fear is finishing the challenge and that I would spell it wrong. Why, Eva? Why do you keep kind of getting yourself into a situation like that? It seems like Joe was getting frustrated with her a little bit in this episode. Just keeps talking about rewards and just, how great this was, how amazing this was. And I just kept saying, Eva, just stop. And then at the reward, she's telling everybody all of her plans. Well, if I don't win this, then I'm doing this. If he wins this, then I'm doing this. And Eva, just stop. Just stop for a few minutes. Mary, I just felt like she didn't go on a very good note. I think she was trying too hard to be annoying and be in people's faces. I did did like that she tried to get Joe going. Joe starts melting down a little bit, asking Kyle and Mitch if I can throw my votes to you just in case there's an idol out there. Oops, that probably wasn't the best thing. Tries to get Shahin. Who should put votes on? And Shaheen's like, not me. You need to calm down. Ignore this stuff. David comes to tribal council again with this blue steel look. This look at me. It's all about me. Oh, David, just stop. Just stop. Good tribal, even though it wasn't a big move. But even as much as I wanted a move, I kept thinking to myself afterwards, why was it okay not having that? And I just think Mary was someone that they couldn't trust. And I feel like the 6 that are there now, they can trust each other, at least enough to make moves. And if they had gotten rid of Joe, I think Mary would have flipped and flopped her entire way to the final 3. And maybe that would have helped her win. I don't know. But I don't think that Mary was someone they could even trust for more than one vote. And then David showing everybody up by standing up at the end of tribal council. Really? Come on. I don't know. I felt like it was a good episode. I was happy with it. It was better than what I thought it was going to be. I think it was better than last week's. Again, I understand the move of getting rid of Mary. We all want a big move, but I think it was okay not having it. Happy anniversary to you, Joanna and Stacy.
Thank you.
And I want to say a shout out to my best friends who watch the show with us every single week, who helped me find this podcast and connected me with the Survivor fantasy community here, to Aubrey and Dylan. They'll listen to this. They're on a vacation right now. And so happy anniversary, Aubrey and Dylan. Hope you guys have a great day. And I look forward to hearing what everybody else has to say.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Aubrey and Dylan, for bringing us, Ryan, and happy anniversary to you, too.
Absolutely.
Next up, we got an email from Jack in California.
With just 2 episodes left, if nothing changes, then the finale could be anticlimactic. Don't get me wrong, I am enjoying this season and this cast a lot, but the winner could be predictable at the end. Before saying what I want to see happen, here are my thoughts on the recent episodes. I will say that the dynamics between Kyle and Camilla is quite impressive, and I am a bit surprised that the rest of the cast don't seem to notice how close they actually are. I am impressed with the gameplay of Kyle and his strategy. This group of castaways do bring out great energy with each other, and it shows at the challenges when they interact with Jeff. As for this recent episode, I will give it to Mary that she did not go out without a fight, and she did have great points in trying to fake out the much bigger threats in Joe and Eva to level the playing field a bit more. I can see where Eva is coming from with the coconut frustration and trying to spread out the food during the last few days they have out there, but Mary was just not having it, and took it out on the coconuts. The most recent boat journey didn't do much for me, given that Eva already has a lot of power in the game. The challenge for that advantage could be challenging depending on how high you would want to go. I think ultimately Eva did make the right choice of not going for the knowledge is power. Speaking of challenges, I'm happy Camilla won this week's immunity challenge. Joe's answer made no sense at the beginning, but if it wasn't for the color coordination, he would have won again. At Tribal, they had the best opportunity to strike out one of the strong 4, and they didn't take it. I would have liked to see Joe go, even though I do like him. I don't understand why David stood up when Mary was leaving Tribal. Was he annoyed, or was it respect for Mary's game? I am confused about that. They don't strike next week. If they don't strike next week, then this game will be a runaway win for Joe. We shall see what happens next. All right. Thanks, Jack. And yes, as we've already said, I think the biggest thing was David was trying to show respect for Mary, but I think it was a lot more of, look at me, look at me.
Good deal. Next up, we got a call from Joe.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. It's Joe from Huntersville. It's been a long time since I've called in with my feedback, so let's get on with it. I feel that this season is different than most. In the remaining contestants, I don't think any of them can be considered a GOAT. That hasn't happened in a long time. I think if Joe makes it to the final 3, then he's the winner. If he doesn't make it, I believe Kyle will pull it out. The only way Shahin, my USB, makes it is if the final 3 consist of Eva and Camilla, which is highly unlikely. If voting goes as it has, Mitch will be the next to go. I'm hoping something happens to upset the apple cart, but it doesn't seem likely. What are your thoughts? Will it be an easy victory for Joe? Does Eva or Camilla have a shot at winning? I can't wait to hear the thoughts of the other Survivor fans. Ta-ta for now, Joe.
Ta-ta, Joe. Yeah.
I don't know that they would vote to give the money to Eva.
No, I don't think so. I think her social game is so off at this point, and they've been subjected to enough of it that it's just, I don't think it would happen.
And
if they had gone to final tribal council right after she had her episode and Joe comforted her, I think there's a chance maybe she could have won. But I think with her bluntness and her inability to soften anything she says, she's completely lost the social game.
Though I do think Joe could win, but they could also resent him and feel like he didn't have to do much other than win challenges, which he's been good at. You have to give him that. And
so what is it that he shared with Kyle that has connected so deeply with Kyle, and I suspect Shahin too?
Because I don't think Kyle shares much personal stuff about himself, and he did to Joe. I think there was a lot more than we even saw.
Yes, and my question is, what is it that Joe has shared that so enthralled Kyle and possibly Shahin in a similar fashion?
I don't know if Shahin's as enamored with Joe, but I don't know.
So early on, Joe, and in the preseason interviews and stuff, we heard Joe talk about his sister that he had lost to domestic violence, and I think there was a brief mention of it in the beginning. I wonder if that is something that, he went into a lot more detail with Kyle, and that's
I'm pretty sure he has.
Kyle was like, oh, wow, so his plan is to do this in regards to that event that happened, and it's a tribute to his sister, and can I take that away from him? Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of felt like it was more Joe was there for Kyle and being able to help him through some of his trauma.
Process some stuff that was lingering.
Because he doesn't share with people and he doesn't have them. And I think Joe does good with that strong mentor, big brother, father type thing, in helping him. I thought
listening.
It was more what he feels. He felt heard.
But Kyle's been very clear multiple times on, hey, we've shared things and had this really deep connection. I suspect there might be more to it.
Well, yeah, I think Joe has shared more than they've shown.
Yeah.
Definitely. No doubt about that. But but they really connected was the important point. The same thing with Shahin. He never expected to find true friends, and he feels like he's trying to play a game, but the friendship is getting in the way.
Yeah.
I think that's basically what it is. And
the bonding experience that comes through the extreme stress of Survivor.
Well, and when Eva is so overly open and honest, I think it's hard to, she seems almost like an innocent that way, and it would be harder to strike at her because they probably know she would be deeply hurt. She wouldn't see it as, but it's just
she gets
a game.
cut from the team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be, man, maybe they recognize that.
So a way to soften that is the list that preceded her. We're going to take these pieces off the board. You're not going to go before them, whether they say that with her, to her, or not.
And I think that both Kyle and Shahin are also afraid that if they make a move, that it's not going to look good for them, or Joe and Eva will really come at them for the dishonesty. And so I don't know that they would respect
coming.
a good game.
There's a huge reminder in the jury of their dishonesty and their betrayal that they're going to answer for. And he's scowling at them the whole time.
Yeah. I think they're kind of just scared to do it.
Yeah.
And I think they think, well, there's a if we wait and do it when we're down to us, then we didn't break our word, and we can still get them, or we can win. Like Shahin said, he totally thinks he can go head to head with Joe and Eva and win.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe they can out-talk him.
We're way, way off the listener feedback. We're off tangent.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Joe. Let's bring it back in line with a call from Pat.
Hey, Joanna Stacy. This is Pat calling in from Kansas City this morning. Happy Saturday. Well, I wanted to say this episode was good, and like Joanne says, always, it's Survivor, so I always love it. I was sad to see my USB go, but I did get a vote out point on her, so I guess there's that. Also, I wanted to say I was a milkman for 25 years. I delivered milk locally to every place. I've pushed a two-wheeler thousands of miles with milk on it. It's basically the same as a wheelbarrow. So a tip, if any of you fans ever go on there and there's a wheelbarrow challenge, whenever you come to a bump, turn around and pull it over the bump. I guarantee it'll go over it smoothly, and like it always says, don't ask, just do it. So that's a tip if you ever make it on there. And then speaking of challenges, I'm a fan of two challenges. I always love challenges. I know lots of fans love the social dynamics, and I do too, but I really love the challenges. I always have. And I wish it was like some kind of new law that there has to be two challenges every episode, and one of them has to involve water. When I become president, that will be like day one for me. So this season, I like it. I like that there's a strong group. And when I say strong, I don't necessarily mean physically strong, but just a group that's sticking together. Because every season there is a group that sticks together. They're just not as obvious as this one, I think. Or at least they're not showing us that. But I do like that. But I don't understand why they didn't go after Joe this episode. I like Joe. I'd like to see him win. I would be happy with him winning, but I don't understand why they did it. So I'm a huge NASCAR fan. I've been a race fan since I was born. Love races. This season reminds me of a race at Talladega. And for NASCAR fans, you'll understand what I mean. But at Talladega, you have to have help. You have to have somebody pushing you along, because if you don't, you can't go near as fast as everyone else. So you have to have help. Just like this season, and in Survivor, you have to have help. But at Talladega, a lot of times, when it comes down to the end of the race, the people just stay in line, and they push somebody else to win. And I never understand that. I'm always yelling at my TV, or if I'm at the race, I'm yelling at the race to pass, to at least try. You might not win. You might even fall back 2 or 3 spots, but at least you tried. I never understand why you just stay in line knowing that you're going to finish second, third, or fourth. Why not try something? What's the worst that can happen? You get voted out, and you're going to get voted out eventually anyways, because you're not going to beat Joe or Eva. That's all I got. You guys have a good week, and I can't wait till next episode. See ya.
Thanks, Pat. Enjoyed the tips and the perspective there. Very cool.
I really, after seeing the paranoia that Joe was experiencing with just Mary saying, I'm going to write your name down.
By the way, she said she had no idea that had that effect on him. She wasn't. Really? Yeah, she didn't know that it took hold.
He didn't show it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to her, I guess. But I thought I would like to see him really, think. I think it would be a fun thing, maybe not for him, but to see him and his reactions to he really thinks they're coming after him.
Mm-hmm. You're
I'm hoping that's going to be
ratchet it up another level.
Yeah. Just
because
ramp it way up.
His reaction, at least from Kyle and Shahin's perspective, was and Mitch was a bit of a mess.
Yeah, exactly.
And did not handle a small, trivial threat. Yeah. Well, to his point, she could have had something,
She could have.
And it could have gone a different way for sure. And they did take a risk with a unanimous vote.
So, why was he even bothering? Why didn't he just put Mitch's name down? Why tell somebody in his alliance? It's like, oh, well, you wouldn't mind if I write. Yeah, I would. Don't write my name down.
Yes, Shahin and I have both had that happen plenty.
So if you're planning to vote Mitch out next, why not just use his name? It's one vote. Mitch would understand that. He probably wouldn't like it, but he would go, yep, I thought so. I'm next, But
Well, they're trying to keep people from playing their shot in their dark. And Mary didn't have one, and that's why they were trying to make Star feel okay and think that it was Mary when Star went, so Star wouldn't play it. So that is a factor while that is in the game.
True.
Good stuff. Thanks, Pat. Enjoyed all that. Next up, we got an email from Matt and Summer from East Tennessee. Hey, Joanne and Stacy. Overall, we enjoyed the episode up until the very end. The edit did a fair job of building the anticipation for a big move to finally be made. In the end, we were left to continue watching strangers enjoy getting to know each other on their adventure vacation in Fiji. Yeah. Joe boldly declares he wants to beat the very best on the hardest path to the final tribal council. Absolutely. When you're the great one that everyone should want to beat. Completely agree with Stacy's assessment of Joe's self-promoting comments about only taking the best to final tribal. He clearly sees himself as the best player, and at this point, we can't completely disagree. Mary chopping the coconut as therapy was hilarious, and even better when Eva and Camilla called her out on her coconut etiquette faux pas. Poor Mary. Glad to see her fight to the end, though. Maybe not the best strategic move, but watching Mary work through her frustration about this season was excellent. We were right there with her. Ugh. Kyle, what do you think will happen to the end? That Jeff gives everybody the $1 million for being honorable and trustworthy? Most everyone this season seems like good folks, but seriously naive. Do they not have friends at home? A lot of emotional confessionals this episode. Our USB Mitch said, win or lose, he's just glad to have shared this amazing experience as one of the guys. We admire his attitude, but sure wish he had included his goal in his pre-Survivor interview. And speaking of Mitch, what was he doing at the beginning of the immunity challenge with his hands?
I was trying to figure out
The word.
what the words could be.
Yes.
With the letters.
Yeah, that's why he was writing words out in the air with his finger.
How many words?
How many
letters does this word have?
Yeah.
How many letters does this word
What
have?
word will fit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you can tell by his first few attempts that he did not come up with something viable.
Right. Yep.
Concerning the journey, how did Eva get that rock? Sometimes conspiracy theories aren't theories. Okay. Also, we didn't see Joe talking to Eva before tribal. Weird. Finally, Eva's observation that her game hasn't shifted is because she already has everything. On to the immunity challenge. Yay, Camilla. We both gave her a big Pete from Boston. Woo! Her strategic picks for the reward were smart in setting up the Joe-Eva blindside. You know, the one that didn't happen. We admire Shahin theorizing he can convince the jury that he has outplayed Joe. We just can't think of an instance that backs up that argument. Well, his 5 days prior planting seeds to get rid of David, I would say reference that. There's definitely a story there.
Yeah, but is that enough?
Don't know. It's something. Can Joe come up with anything that elaborate? If the season, and will they allow him to take full credit for it or some significant amount of credit in that? If the season travels its current path, and why wouldn't it, Mitch is the next to go. With all that said, we can see the potential for a bitter final tribal jury and perhaps giving the money to anyone but Joe. Yeah, I could totally see that at this point. Last two items. Can anyone make Shahin quit singing? Enjoying his singing. And what does David's stance at the end of travel mean? Yes.
I think we've been clear on that.
Tribute plus look at me, look at me. Thanks for all you do. Can't wait to hear from the other super fans. All right. Thank you. Next up, we got a call from Drew.
Hey, Joanna, Stacy. Hey, everyone. This is Drew. I thought I got my feedback in last week on time. Maybe the call didn't come through just as well because it was kind of negative. But I thought Star kind of went out with some fun vibes, even though I don't think she had any idea how to play Survivor. I was all ready to call in with the most positive. The tides are turning. This is going to be the best lead up to the finale that we could hope for. But yeah, what actually is happening is this season is a masterclass in editing to make the extremely obvious somehow try to make that seem not obvious when it's obvious. So like the last 3 episodes, they desperately tried so hard to keep you guessing until the very end. Then it's obvious, but it's also, it just seems like kind of some really bad moves. At this point, Joe would be an extremely disappointing winner to me, but I also think they deserve to lose to him for just allowing him to float through. Right? It's just insane. The one time he doesn't win immunity, and they're just going to be, oh, it's fine. You guys, you deserve to lose. I'm sorry. You deserve to lose. If it's not Shahin or Kyle, either one of them, though, they should have known this was the chance. I think it's too late. I think it's foregone conclusion at this point. I think that Mary went out swinging, too. I didn't think she was going Russell Hantz. I think Russell Hantz was chaos for chaos' sake. He was just destruction mode, trying to kind of throw people down a pit. She was trying to shake things up, and it worked. And here's the other thing that I noticed. Everyone turned on David for getting paranoid. It took 3 sentences for Joe to completely tailspin and turn on everybody. And he's talking, like, they're all talking about how David's like paranoid and turning on everybody, whatever. This strong alliance is toast for one thing. I think that Joe doesn't have it because he's emotional, but also he's kind of the sanctimonious thing. He doesn't see the flaws in himself that he keeps pointing out in other people. That's what's been frustrating me. I'm over Eva, you guys, and I'm not the only one. I'm trying not to be a negative. I actually like Camilla, and Kyle is growing on me, interestingly, because I've never been a huge Kyle fan, but these last few episodes, I'm like, okay, I get it, Kyle. I feel like you're actually conflicted, and you're trying to weigh this and that. I think he was really, really stupid, just like the other guys, to not turn on Joe when he had a chance. I don't think Mitch really has a chance either. I don't know. I guess I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I feel like it has to be Joe, and I think they deserve it. I'd love to see Shahin. My USB, you guys, he's in the final 6. That's kind of unusual. So I think it was a 4-point week. Someone in the Facebook group was, I think this should be the song, Build Me Up, Buttercup, Just to Let Me Down. I was like, yep, I'll be thinking about some lyrics for that, because I know I'm pretty much done for. Unless Shahin wins, I could see kind of a little bit of a comeback, at least to get out of the immediate basement. But everyone have a great weekend. I can't believe I watched on Thursday night. That's exciting. So talk to you later. Bye.
Excellent. Thanks, Drew. Hey, did you have something you want to say?
No, I was going to tell. I think you were about to tell what I was
Oh, okay. I want to say I'm sorry if we missed a voicemail by you this week when, I'll say a little behind the scenes, Pete usually gets his in before we finished recording
Yes.
the recap show.
Always, except for the week that was missed.
Yeah. And when we didn't see Pete, and we gave it a couple days, I went in. So what normally happens is we'll get an email saying, hey, you received a call. And then we'll get another email and it says, here's the voicemail. Yeah. And when we didn't see anything and we waited a couple days, I went actually into the voicemail system and looked, and there was Pete's call. And then I saw your call too for this week. So apologies if we missed you in a prior week. Some adding to the challenges with our voicemail solution, they stopped sending the actual voicemails when they came in at some point, but I have actively tested it and it works. So I don't understand what's going on with the intermittent failures, but I'll be monitoring it and I'll make sure that doesn't happen going forward, checking multiple times as we're putting together listener feedback shows.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is David in Pittsburgh. And for me, season 48 is sinking. Once again, the editing gave us false hope up to that challenge when Camilla's puzzle fell apart. I'm there like, oh no, she was so close. And then Joe gets it. And I thought, here we go again. But no, the block was reversed and Camilla actually wins. I was cheering. Everything's being set up for the big move. But first we go to the reward and Camilla picks Mitch, which is fine. He hasn't been eating much. And then Eva. I was so disappointed. I think Eva's been on almost every single reward. In fact, I have to say this about Eva. If there's an advantage in the game, she gets it. If there's a reward in the game, she gets it. I understand Camilla didn't have many choices. But I even thought, I'll just give Mary the reward and let her eat before you kick her out. But no, Eva gets picked again. So now we get the big lead up to the big vote off, and Mitch gives a confessional. I don't even know what he says anymore because I don't pay any attention to what he's saying. And then Joe has a major meltdown over the possibility of one vote against him. So then Camilla and Kyle have another one of their secret meetings. And Camilla says, I just want one of us to be in the final three. Again, I was so disappointed. What are you talking about, one of us? You two have been working together so hard. Are you bowing out now? And Kyle's boo-hooing over, I've got to get rid of somebody that I really like. Hey, dude, this is called Survivor. And after all that, Mary gets all the votes. They did talk about perception in the tribal council, and I'm wondering if the players are actually looking at the jurors the way we are and seeing all of these people on the jury who haven't made a move. Chrissy, Cedric, Star, and I'm not counting David because he's on his own planet. But these are people that might have been able to take a move at one time, but just waited too long and did too little. I'm not even sure if next week a big move is finally made, whether it'll save the season for me. I find the players likable enough. I just don't see anybody there with a strong enough drive to win and will do anything at all costs to get that win. So what I'm doing is looking forward to season 50, where we have experienced players coming back, people who are willing to make big moves, even if it sends them home when it fails. Sinking with 48. Talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, David, sorry you're having a hard time there. Here's a scenario for you. What if this happened? Would this bring it back for you? What if Camilla and Kyle get rid of Joe this next week, and then Camilla gets rid of Kyle because he just didn't have what was needed at the time necessary? This is her story building to make the move when it made the most sense.
Well, but he has her story.
Now, yeah, and he's a key part of it. Yeah, so she says, well, he was having so much trouble acting on Joe, and it was such a struggle. So Joe goes, then Kyle goes, and then they go ahead and get rid of Eva. And so you end up with Camilla and Shahin and Mitch, and the final three, Camilla wins. It's a big battle between Camilla and Shahin, but clearly Camilla out-schemed Shahin at every step of the way. And so Camilla gets the win. What do you think, David? Would that retrieve it this season for you?
It would be pretty amazing for me.
It would, yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Even though Kyle's my USB.
I was listening to David, and I was like, well, what scenario would really bring it back for him? What if Camilla just put on a master class right at the end and made it clear that she just had to get rid of Kyle because he was just too darn wishy-washy?
Well, and he has been, and that's why, even though he's my USB 24, I'm like, okay, fine. Whatever happens to you at this point, you deserve it because you are just wishy-washy and have not committed to making a move.
Yes.
And you're like straddling the fence still, even after you said you committed to Camilla. Really? Did you?
What we want is for you to show up and try to win. It's really that simple.
To really do whatever you have to do, whatever Joe or Eva would think, you have to at some point put that aside.
Yeah. And of course the trick is you got to figure out, well, what is this group going to value?
But
how are
you going to get their vote?
That's what I'm saying. We're saying the same thing two different ways. What is this group, this little micro society, going to value? You got to figure out what that is. If it is the loyalty pitch and all that. And anyway, okay, I hope that cheers you up a little bit, David.
But he does have a point. He could also say, I stayed as loyal to you as I could for as long as I could and still give myself an opportunity to win the game.
But when you started talking to me and Mitch and Shahin about putting us down because you were spooked to have your name there.
Yeah, there you go.
I understood where we stood with each other, and I knew it was okay to take you out. All right, thanks, David. Next up, we got a call from Parker.
Hey, it's Parker from Indiana, and I've been defending this season, the whole post-merge. I've been, no. You guys don't get it. It's gonna ramp up. It's gonna get crazy. Something nuts is gonna happen next week. I bet. It's set up so well. And it's such a good episode for Kyle, for Camilla, for Shahin. And it's the perfect swan song for Joe here. And then Mary goes, What happened? I get it. She was being annoying with the food, and her telling Joe that she was gonna vote for Joe, a really dumb move, and it just sent him into a spiral. So then even if they were considering it, then they were well, poo. Now Eva's gonna play something on Joe. Whether it's safety without power or an idol, who's to say? And so maybe it's better for us just to vote out Mary. Maybe that's what happened. Or they just talked about it and didn't freaking do it. I don't know. I get it. I get the hate for this season. It sucks. What happened? What are we doing, guys? They keep showing us all these crazy plans. And it's, something amazing is going to happen. And then nothing. It was perfect that it was Kyle, Shahin, and Camilla are rising from the ashes of this episode, and they're the front runners. One of them is going to win this game down. And then Joe's still here. So what do we do? Guys? I also lost a save point on Mary. I'm not too happy about that. Maybe that adds to the anger, the frustration a little bit. Not going to lie. Also the fact that heading into merge, I didn't really see the narrative for Joe to win the game anymore. I didn't think it was there. I was, I don't know. And so I switched my USB to Kyle. And at this point, I still see a Kyle narrative, but I think Joe's winning this game, and I could have had 24 points. I could have had 24 points. Now, I would really like Kyle to win this game still. Not even for my 10 points, but still, I think that would be awesome. However, I also love Joe as a person. I think he'd be a phenomenal winner. He's going to be one of those winners that we're like, yeah, Joe's game was great. He had control the whole time. And then when we rank this season, we're going to rank it at like one of the very bottom spots because it sucked, because it was boring. Just like Boss and Rob, Kim Spradlin, freaking whoever else. I don't remember. Why? Why are we doing this? Okay, maybe next week. Maybe next week. Maybe next week something happens. Because from the preview, here's what I'm thinking is going to happen. They're going to go crazy. Kyle and Camilla going crazy. They're going to frame Shahin. Shahin's getting voted out, right? And that way, it's Joe and Eva who blindsided Shahin. It wasn't really Kyle and Camilla. It was those two. Who made the call. It's like JT and Steven get out coach, or Steven voting for coach. JT doesn't vote for coach. It's going to be like that. All right? All right? And then that puts Camilla in the alliance. And so then when they get to Final Four, then maybe one of them can beat Joe in a fire, and they sit with Eva in the Final Three, in which case either Kyle or Camilla win the season, because I don't think a lot of people like Eva. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe that's what happens, all right? Maybe. Or Joe wins the whole thing. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I got. I'll see you guys next time.
But you forgot about Mitch.
Didn't have any love for Mitch, huh? Thanks, Parker. We enjoyed that, buddy. Next.
I love your passion for the game.
Yes. Next up, we got an email from Becca in South Carolina.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. Hi, Survivor fans. With so much talk at the beginning of this episode centered around getting Joe out, I figured he would win immunity and Mary would go. Predictable, but not disappointing, since our JSFL score would go up 5 points. Jeff didn't need a catchy chant to get my kids excited about the reward. Sushi is Liam's favorite, and Caroline loves chicken teriyaki. I wish they wouldn't have shown that the scrambled word was unforgettable. I would have liked the opportunity to solve it along with the players, like on Wheel of Fortune. There was a lot of excitement and noise in our living room during the challenge. I was cheering for Joe, but everyone else was pulling for our USB Camilla. While Camilla and her chosen tribe mates enjoyed their reward, we enjoyed our own Survivor treat, chocolate milk. Even though we knew the smart thing would have been to vote Joe out when they had the chance, Mary was really annoying us, and we're very happy with the outcome and our 5-point week.
Congrats.
David still looked angry when he arrived at Tribal Council. Maybe they're not serving enough milk at Ponderosa.
That could be
We
it.
loved everyone's reaction to his reaction to Mary being voted out. How dramatic. We think Joe will continue to be the center of the conversation, but between his potential for immunity and Eva's bag of tricks, we feel like he's going to be safe and Mitch may be the one to go. But I don't think I'm confident enough to make Joe a safe pick.
Oh, come on, Becca. Play bold. Play bold.
All right, thanks, Becca. Up next, we got a call from Shahin.
Hi, John, Stacey, and also our fans. Hope everyone's well safe. My sanity isn't. Up until yesterday, I'd only slept probably 3 hours in between 36 to 48 hours.
Goodness.
I'm back home now. My wife and I went on a trip obviously to Bali and then came back yesterday. But the day before that, I only got 3 hours sleep to watch a Champions League semi-final in the round ball, known as soccer or football, and then didn't sleep on the flight, which was around 10 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. back to Australia. So that was not fun. And then, yesterday I watched the episode and, I'm just thoroughly disappointed. I guess if you look at the post-merge, every single move that we've seen, can be seen as admirable from a group of players that truly like each other. And they've really, like in this episode, wanted to focus upon the relationships that these players have made. You can see Kyle, whenever they had these interviews with him during the episode, they were just trying to really focus upon how difficult it is for him to make a decision. I don't know if it's them building it up for him making that decision next week, but I just think production has done it really poorly. Or should I feel bad for production that they've not had enough pieces to be able to craft more exhilarating episodes for us to enjoy? Because again, since the merge, it's just been a status quo. There's only been one real breakaway, and that was David. And dude, he is just so cringe. I couldn't actually watch the screen when he stood up. I just was so embarrassed. I was embarrassed for him. I was embarrassed for myself for even subjecting myself to that BS. It was just so wacky. And I know why he did it. He didn't do it for Mary because he doesn't like Mary. He didn't care for her. He did it because he was disappointed in the gameplay and he wanted to do this weird thing. I don't know how to explain it. It's so odd. But I agree with the sentiment, I guess, in that they are playing a really boring game. And what really trips me up is they all genuinely think they have a chance of winning the game. Come on. I get it that you're in this little bubble, a microcosm in Survivor. Us, the fans, we see it. Some of you are just clear goats. And some of you have just bungled the game. My guy Shahin has bungled his game. He has been a bit of a... I don't know, I'm not saying he's not a laughingstock, but he's misread every single move from the merge onwards. And truly, if Kyle or Camilla don't win this game, it's not a good season for me if it's not done that way. I think we were blessed. The last few seasons before 47 were good. They were redeemable after some of them had those issues pre-merge. Especially last season. That was an amazing season. We were really blessed. So, I'm just getting really tripped up by this. And I just don't get the fact that these margins are narrowing. The more they say that we can win this and it'll be a really good win if it was just the four of us, you've only got one vote if you make it to the top four with the group of four of you. So, good luck. You've only got one move to make it, and then how are you going to talk your way through it? Anyway, thanks for all that you do, and hopefully it's better next week. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Shahin. Hope you're getting rested there. Sounds like a bit of an ordeal. Next up, we got a call from Johnny.
Hey, Joanne and Stacey. This is Johnny calling from Wisconsin. I've been racking my brain about Kyle's strategy for a long time now. Clearly, he's not going to be too early making a move, but boy, you only have 2 votes left. And do you think maybe he was worried that Shahin would gun for him as soon as he flipped on the majority alliance? That's probably why he didn't make his move at this point yet. He wanted to make sure that Shahin would not be a problem and that obviously Joe and Eva, one of them would have to go home. Boy, that would have been a perfect opportunity in that episode, obviously. And does Mitch even try? It's like everybody he's sending home are people he probably could have beaten at this point, but yet he's just content with taking who he has, I guess, and just surviving another day. There's always a fine line to walk there. I feel that Mitch might be the one who goes home next, only because the guy isn't really trying that hard, and I think a lot of people who are sitting on the jury right now would probably vote for him if he got to the end. If not, then I guess he could be a dog, but I just don't see it. I feel like they're going to keep voting for people who are convenient, easy, who don't fit the group, and who just aren't trying as hard. They're just going to get him out now. Either that or possibly Camilla could go, But yeah, I mean, just thinking about it, it looks like Kyle's almost the most safe person left on the cast, which is crazy. So maybe his strategy is really brilliant, that he's just never going to make a move till like the end of the show, which could work out good, but it could bite him back. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Even though Mary went home and it felt like she never really had a shot after the merge, I did really enjoy the episode a lot more than last week, even though it ended up being predictable. And like you guys were saying, we've already seen this show once before. You lead up to this big idea of a blind side, but then you just vote out the most convenient person. It didn't feel as horrible this time. Also, in the side challenge, I didn't see, did Drew still have a USB he could still win with? Because now I'm kind of looking over my shoulder now. I'm not that far from the bottom, so I'm like, oh boy, it's really starting to make things a little tighter here at the end. So let me know if you see anything there. Otherwise, look forward to next episode and hearing from everybody else. Thanks.
I think
Johnny.
it shows on the website, the GSFL website, it shows who their USB is.
So Johnny's feeling the pressure like Joe a little bit there in the side challenge.
I guess so.
Good stuff. Thanks, Johnny. Next up, we got a call from Justin.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy and all the Survivor superfans, it's Justin from Michigan. So I'll start off saying I had a reaction to this episode similar to how I feel when my favorite sports team loses a close game. And in comparison to that, I'm rooting for my team. I'm rooting for the result of something exciting happening in terms of Survivor. And I give my hopes up. My gosh, it's so close. They're going to pull it off. And then they fumble or they throw an interception or something silly happens and they just come up short. And it was all there. They could have won the game. They're one play away and they didn't. So I just felt dejected that I gave my hopes up that they were going to do something and they didn't. And it's so frustrating. I know they can't screw with the schedule, but they really could have made this week's episode and last week's episode one episode, a double tribal. Yeah. You could have crammed it all in there. It's just not exciting. And I'm still looking forward to these last two episodes. I'm especially looking forward to the finale. I think strong pre-merge and a strong finale can save a season as a whole somewhat. I still think it's going to be one of the worst new era seasons, probably about 10 to 15. Maybe about 20 because the 20s were pretty bad. But yes. It's just not exciting when they edit it. This might happen. Nope, actually not. It just ends up being Keith Nail, stick to the plan, which kind of made me think, what if Keith Nail, rest in peace, was on this season with Joe? Oh my gosh, they would just have a ball just playing old school Survivor together. But yeah. I'm going to try to spin some hope that maybe this isn't a red herring. If it's another red herring, that the Shahin drama with Kyle and Camilla that they're saying he's flipping, if that's a red herring and they just take out Mitch, this might be the worst 3-episode stretch as far as a result goes that we've had in a long time, where it's just the obvious spook. And I've been trying to think this through from Kyle and Shahin's perspective, and I can't make sense of it. They have a clear move they could make. They could have taken out Eva 2 weeks ago, and they could have taken out either Eva or Joe this week. And that's a move you point to, and you own it at Tribal Council. And you might not get Joe's vote if you take him out and he's on the jury. Whoop-de-doo, 1 vote. But right now, the jury is getting as impatient and frustrated as the rest of us at home. So now you're making the whole jury mad instead of just one person. Make the move. If it backfires and you go home, you can hold your head high that I tried to make a move, tried to have a fun moment on Survivor, and it backfired. That's better than, I waited a little too long and then I got taken out at fire. Because Eva explicitly says, I'm using my idol the last time I can use it. If either Joe or I win immunity, we're both safe because I'm going to use the idol on the other one. So you're making it as hard as possible for you to get to the end without taking one of them out. Take one of them out. They're using each other as a crutch. Kick that crutch out from under them. Make them play the game. Make them scramble. Now they're on the bottom for the first time in the game. That's what needs to happen. The power balance needs to be unsettled, and it's not happening. I'm going to try not to give my hopes up this week. I mean, I had Mary going home in JSFL, and it still didn't feel good. So, I mean, hoping for a good result. Looking forward to hopefully some more positive feedback by everybody else.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, fingers crossed we'll get some action this week, some follow-through. Next up, we got an email from Josh, the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanne and Stacy, Once again, the underdogs had Joe in their sights, ready to boot him. Everything was lined up perfectly. They made a run at him, getting closer and closer, and then yank, whiff, splat. Good grief. My other observations. Mary says she was still there for a reason. Was it to provide false hope for the viewers?
Perfect.
The revolution will be televised. Oh, or not. Joe sold the group on emotional connections. He threw in a bridge for free. The underdogs are in a jam. Move yesterday, move tomorrow, but never move today. Kyle, Joe, Eva, and Shahin are concretely the final four. That's why the game feels like it's set in some. Mitch can see the writing on the wall. Does it read, "Do not enter"? Mary pitched to Kyle and Shahin. Beanballs might have worked better. Eva has every advantage in the game except the ability to know when people are lying. I predict Kyle's shot at Joe will come when he questions Joe from the jury at Final Tribal. If I was a coconut, I wouldn't want to get within a mile of Mary. Kyle is so wishy-washy that he should be wearing an orange shirt with a zigzag stripe on it. Coconut etiquette? Do you have to stick out your pinky when you drink from one? Kyle, Shahin, and Mitch went fishing. If any of them make Final Three, the jury will tell them to go fish. Don't you hate it when your spot becomes a preferred travel destination? Mary sure does. The Survivor gods hate us. They offered knowledge is power to the one person who can't use it. Indeed. A foot-powered lazy Susan. Someone in the art department has too much time on their hands. When Eva started building the 5th level, she should have been forced to go for all 8. Out loyal won't be a new game criteria. Mitch hopes out snore makes the cut. Shane thinks he's playing a better game than Joe. He's a legend in his own mind. Eva's a team player. Unfortunately for her, only one player will win this game. Jeff using unforgettable in an episode doesn't make it an unforgettable episode. Shahin has relationships with everyone. Jack of all trades, master of none. I'm convinced that they used a Mad Libs menu when they catered the food rewards. Joe lost immunity because his eyes weren't on the prize. Nice. Mary, I'm sure Joe as a dad would appreciate that. Mary says being on the bottom hurts. Hopefully being on the jury bench won't hurt her bottom. I'm glad Mitch got fed. I've never been a fan of those 1970s paintings of big-eyed, sad puppies. He does kind of look that way. Eva is as predictable as a NASCAR race. Her game loops and only turns in one direction. If there's a season called Survivor, the musical, Shahin is a shoo-in for the cast. Alphas in the core 4 get paranoid when things get risky, not my idea of good leadership. Camilla or Kyle needs to be in the final 3. Which one's better at eating tin cans? Nice goat reference. Shahin is going to flip. Burgers at a backyard cookout? Being a firefighter is dangerous, but not as scary as getting a vote at Tribal. If Camilla keeps bugging out her eyes, her face is going to freeze like that. She's got a great face. She's got a great Eliza Orland's bug-eye face, doesn't she? Instead of safety without power, Eva's opting for goat without a shot. Next time, Kyle says Shahin flipped. Camilla and Kyle are working the game hard. Shahin and Joe discuss unusual pancake toppings. Camilla saw beads and something's cooking Joe's noodle. What does it all mean? Goodbye, Mitch. Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks, Joanna, Stacy, for all you do. Can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks, Josh. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Jeremiah.
All right, so when can we just skip to the part where they give Joe the $1 million check? Hey, everybody, it's Jeremiah here with some feedback. Obviously, I'm just kidding a little bit, but I feel like that statement kind of sums up the feelings of a lot of fans at the moment. People are very frustrated. Now we've had back-to-back episodes where these individuals had an opportunity to make a big move and take out Joe, and it did not happen. And I get that frustration. I'm frustrated. I have to admit I was a little annoyed as well. You really want these players to make a move, and yet maybe in the end for some of them it's a good thing. Obviously, this is a good thing for Joe. I mean, the fact that no one's turned on him yet says probably a lot for his game, which I feel like we don't hear enough of that from the fandom. to talk about that is that he has got these people to the point where they don't want to turn on him, especially Kyle and Sheen. I mean, they love this guy and they don't want to turn their back on him, even though it may jeopardize their chances of winning. And that's a lot for his gameplay, and especially his social gameplay. Yeah, I definitely am not mad at Mary. I feel like that she tried everything she could. And I guess really in the end, I really can't be mad too much about Mitch and Camilla if the fact that they needed at least Kyle or Shahin to go with them, and if they weren't willing to do it, then there's only so much they can do. So obviously the two culprits that we're most upset about, I would assume, at least for me it is definitely Kyle and Shahin. For Kyle, we can definitely clearly see that he is emotionally drained. The idea of turning on these people really is upsetting him. And I get that. This is the problem if you let yourself get too close to these people. The thing he did in this episode that annoyed me the most is when he was talking to Mary about how Joe is such a big threat. I kept yelling at the TV thinking, don't spend time telling people who are on the bottom who you're probably going to vote out and are going to be on the jury that they are correct, that Joe is this amazing player. That is not a great idea. And then Shahin, of course, clearly this man thinks that he is going to beat Joe. Here's the thing, Shahin. When the people on the bottom are coming to you and saying, hey, this is the person we should get out because they probably are going to win, that's a clue for you. You got to get them out. That's your sign. That's how you know who you need to get out. So will they make a move next week? The numbers aren't looking good for that now. I do wonder if this teaser is correct. Could potentially Camilla and Kyle be looking to get Shahin out? I don't know. Is that going to really help their game? Who knows? But most likely it's just going to be Mitch, and that's probably who I'm going to pick to go home. All right, well, that's it for me. You all take care. Until next time, this is Jeremiah from Southern California.
Excellent. Enjoyed those insights.
I also wonder if, especially Kyle, maybe even Shahin, they don't want to disappoint Joe on personal levels. I think especially Kyle's like, but
well, like Jeremiah's
I like
saying,
him and we've shared this. I don't want to disappoint him.
Like Jeremiah's saying, then that's a tribute to Joe that he's instilled that.
Yes.
Kind of a response. That's some heavy-duty charisma he's wielding to make, if it is indeed that. I don't think Shahin would agree with that. I don't know about Kyle.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Next up, we got a call from Jen.
Hi, everyone. This is Jen in California, and here are my thoughts on Survivor 48, Episode 11. Previously on Survivor, Mitch doesn't want to make a move, the 4 want to be the 4 to the end, and the underdogs just keep on underdogging. If you've seen one pagonging, you've seen them all, and once is enough. We don't need any more pagongings. They're so boring. In this episode, I think it was Mary that said that it's outwit, outplay, outlast, not outloyal, and she's exactly right. You cannot outloyal people on Survivor. If Joe makes it to the end, I have a feeling that he's going to go the way of Coach or Boston Rob. If they award Joe the $1 million, it's going to be because he's the least of all evil. He'll be the Amber to Survivor All-Stars Rob. It'll be because a vote for Joe will be a vote against somebody else. It's not going to be a vote for Joe to win because Joe is boring, and Joe has controlled the season with an iron fist, just like Boston Rob, who I never really liked his gameplay, or like Coach, who when he got to the end and, he said he loved everybody and loyalty and honor was key. I mean, that's not respected on Survivor. Survivor is about betrayal, and that's that. The jury wants to see moves. I hope this isn't the case, but I really feel like Kyle has missed his opportunity to get Joe out. And I think that the writing was on the wall for him this last episode to take the big shot, and he didn't take it. So we'll see if he just gets one more chance. I'm not very confident right now. I criticize Jeff Probst a whole lot. I criticize because I love. Anyway, I will give him kudos this episode for being the most amazing challenge caller, probably in TV history, when he called the immunity challenge for Camilla, and he was astute enough to look at Joe's puzzle and immediately realize that it was in the wrong, and I think that's great. It shows integrity, and it shows just amazing understanding of this game, and there you go. Good job, Jeff. And I also have not been in the habit of complimenting Joe, but good on you, Joe. He was the classiest of acts, understanding the fairness of the call, and he complimented Camilla. So, way to go, Joe. And Camilla winning the immunity was amazing, by the way. Definitely the best of Survivor. When she described how out of shape she was and overweight and ill-prepared for the physical challenges of Survivor, for her not only to step up to the challenge and do her best to prepare and then come out and win immunity, good for her. That's why I watched the show. It's for these moments where a seeming underdog or someone who is less physically endowed overcomes insurmountable odds and wins that immunity. I also found out by listening to Jeff in a podcast that he does not wear an earpiece during challenges or ever really at all, and I'm impressed by that. For all of his flaws and for all of the mistakes that we call out, the fact that he chooses to keep the game authentic and organic, I think that's pretty darn great. And again, it speaks to his amazing ability to call challenges and to host the show. So there you go. Compliment number 2, Jeff. I think there's something wrong with me today. And my final thought is, David, why did you stand up when Mary was voted out? I mean, if you're going to give a standing ovation, give the slow clap. I mean, I know they're not supposed to do that, but better to beg forgiveness than ask permission. And I think he was going for like a Robin Williams Captain My Captain thing. But again, he looked kind of ominous and creepy, so stop doing that, David. Anyway, that's it for me. Can't wait to hear everyone else's thoughts. Till next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. So you listened to Prop's podcast, but you forgot to mention where, and you were very gracious to him, giving him those 2 kudos, but he was imitating that awful British accent again when he was trying to talk like Mark Burnett, and somehow you skipped over that. You didn't call him on that one. So
Okay, you call him on it.
Jen was very complimentary towards Jeff this week, so good deal. Thanks, Jen. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul in Louisiana here, and what I think we had this week was basically a repeat of last week, where people other than Joe or Eva had a chance to change things up, but took the easy route out instead of actually playing for themselves. Kyle just seems to be painting himself into more and more of a corner due to all of the friendships that he's made, and I hate to say it, but I think that his first alliance, the one with Camilla, is the one that he's going to toss aside. Why? Well, because in the end, I think he'd rather disappoint just one person rather than 3. He's already proven that he's not cut out to be an undercover player, and he's just putting off the inevitable. Now, it was nice to see Joe come out of his armored shell in this episode. He got to see that Survivor plays on your mind when you aren't always secure in your position on the tribe. So, yeah, you all know that I'm not the biggest Joe fan, but even I was disappointed to see him in full tilt panic mode and expect someone else to put their name out there so he wouldn't be the person voted out if Mary played an idol. I guess he didn't like the honest approach that Mary took of telling him what she was going to do. And although I loved Shahin's reaction and thought that maybe this blatant disregard for Shahin's game could be what causes the big 4 alliance to split, well, he ended up disappointing me because in the end, nope, nothing. That air of entitlement reveal that Joe showed Shahin still led down the path of least resistance where everyone voted out Mary. Yeah, I'm disappointed, I've got to say. And in short, I just don't get the entire I can't trust Mary logic, because why would she turn on you after practically begging to reel you into her plan in which you all have an interest in? Yeah, whatever. So kudos to Mary, but Eva, and yeah, I know she has issues with social cues, the way she talks to people is unsettling to downright off-putting to me. The thing is, and maybe I'm being extremely cruel here, but the thing is, by not pointing out the faux pas that she's making, well, she's never going to learn that some things that she say come off as cold and indifferent and entitled. And that could damage her position on how she's perceived in the game, regardless of her autism. And I guess that leads me to what I'm officially admitting to discovering about myself while watching this season. I always want the underdogs to win. Always. If Joe and Eva had to actually fight for their footing in the game instead of, as I see it, breezing through it, well, I could be more in their corner. Having them lose their position for a bit and then reclaiming it would also do wonders for my rooting for them. But instead, I'm hoping that Mitch and Camilla will get to the end because they're the underdogs. Now, in all honesty, I've given up on Mitch completely. But I still have a sliver of hope for Camilla because of the Kyle thing. But yeah, that's just me holding out for the underdog. And it's a shame that no one sees what she's been contributing with Kyle. She's getting no credit at all because she hasn't been seen on the front lines. But you know, no one on the jury is a Joe fan either, so, just maybe. But yeah, I'm not holding my breath. And should we talk about David here? You know, the showboat, the one that don't float. Well, I think that pretty much covers how I feel about him. He's certainly milking that jury box, though, and I gotta give him credit. But it's not looking good in my eyes, and hopefully not others. So I'm torn between Mitch and Camilla to go next. It's all about the path of least resistance to me at this point, but I am leaning towards Camilla because Mitch seems to be in tighter with the guys. And there you have it. Save for one quick stupid newbie question, I'm pretty sure that I know the answer to this, or at least did at one point in time, but had Eva lost her vote, would she still have been able to play the idol? The more I think about it, the more confused I get. And wow, this is getting long, so adios, my friends. Catch you next week. Bye.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, she would have been able to play the immunity idol since it's not tied to the vote in any way. So that would have been fine. I know it's confusing for sure with all the different advantages and the different actions that happen now where people do lose their vote like she did. She lost it and then gained it back by doing the 4 stack. But yeah, she would have still had the idol. Good stuff.
And everyone left in the game does still have their shot in the dark.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that'll be at play. That'll be a factor to consider when they're trying to decide how to run the votes. But the numbers are messed up now. So
what do you mean?
In terms of having opportunities to split.
Oh, split the vote. Yeah.
Yeah. To try to counter for that they've just basically let that slide at this point. I forget who it was that asked, but we did go back and watch the challenge, the immunity reward challenge, and it wasn't Kyle Probst didn't ask Kyle to say the word. Kyle just said it when he got unforgettable. But prior to that, when Joe had it wrong, Shahin had encouraged Joe to say what he thought.
Say it.
Yeah, he said say it, and then Probst said, Joe, say it, and then Shahin repeated, Joe, say it, and that's when Joe said the wrong word the first time when he thought he had it. And then when Kyle thought he had it, he just said it. That had already been done. It wasn't Probst.
Mitch was already working on that word, too. So he must have looked at Joe's or...
Yeah, he latched on to what was the...
Not
something fun, betrayal, with betrayal spelled wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know, when they both had that wrong. Yeah, so Kyle we didn't hear Probst ask Kyle to say it. Kyle just said unforgettable, even though he had spelled it wrong. And then for the life of him, couldn't figure it out. So
not until he looked at Camilla. He had to wait for Camilla after she dropped hers to get back to that part before he could take it apart and fix it.
Get the order right.
Because he couldn't get it.
Right.
That he had
just wasn't
reversed
clicking.
the G and the R.
So like Mary said, she was just out of gas. It really looks like Mitch is in the same place. There's nothing there. Maybe that reward helped him a little, but...
Unforgettable. I think is how he had it.
Unforgettable. Yeah. Switch the G and the R.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's evidently that had an impact on Kyle too. But Camilla, she just seemed to have that really quickly, and she was just smiling, even though she dumped him that one time and all that. She was lucky that Joe dropped those 2, and then when he picked up the last one, he flipped it. Didn't realize he had flipped it around.
Well, and good on Jeff that he kept looking, because I don't know whether anybody else would have really noticed. It could have gone unnoticed, and Joe could have won. So
yeah, that's certainly possible.
But Jeff caught it pretty quickly from what they showed us. I mean, they could have redone.
So what do you think? Is it given? Are we like 99% that Mitch is going to get voted out this next time as planned, since they failed to act? Or is there really something there in next time on Survivor?
I hope there is, but I don't know.
So what happens if they take out Shahin? If they convince Joe and Eva to take out Shahin?
Well, but it looked like from the commercial, Joe and Shahin were doing double fist bumps, and Joe is suspicious that he's being lied to, which means lied to probably by Camilla and Kyle.
Okay, there's that, but I'm going to go back and ask the question again. What happens if they take out Shahin? How does it play from there?
Well, I would assume that then, according to, it will all depend on who wins immunity. And if the 3 original Siva will go after either Joe or Eva, if whoever doesn't win.
If they have an opportunity.
Yes.
Because if Joe wins and Eva plays her idol at 5, they're both on through to 4, and now one of those 3 Siva have to go.
Well, but Mitch, I
and
would
it's
assume.
Mitch. Yeah. Now it's
Unless
down
Joe
to 4.
and Eva use Mitch to vote out Kyle or Camilla, which is, if I were Joe and Eva, that's what I'd do.
Mm-hmm.
Because
After taking
I
out
thi-
Shahin.
I think if they know they figure out they've been working together and they actually have a story, why wouldn't they take one of them out? And
Mhm.
especially if Joe's so disappointed in Kyle that he came after him and decides to take him out.
If that's the case,
I owe
though,
you nothing.
if that's the case, then Mitch probably is better off going with Kyle and Camilla than going with Joe and Eva. That's probably how he's going to think, right?
Why? If he knows Kyle and Camilla are together as well. It depends on who makes better fire.
Sees Joe and Eva as a bigger threat. Well, that's at 4. That's
Exactly,
that's long gone.
but they'll be going into 4. Whoever they take out, the remaining people will go to 4. So that is a factor.
5 minus 1 is 4. This is true. Good stuff. I'm thinking that I'm still thinking Mitch may go, given how they've been behaving. But I'm with you. Fingers crossed that they actually take some action. I don't know if Shahin's the right one to take, but maybe their plan is to stir up Joe to go against Shahin, so that Shahin is ready to work with them to take out Joe.
Go against Joe,
Yeah.
That would be a better plan, I think, but I just don't know if it's going to work. Especially if Joe tells Shahin that Camilla had told him she thinks he has an idol. And if she's talking about Shahin, I saw beads. He had beads.
Mm-hmm.
So unless he has had beads.
Yeah, that's
that were
my first
not-
thought was,
not.
he's like doubling back to check with her because she's the one who told me before about Shahin maybe having an idol.
Mm-hmm.
And so that she's trying to be as convincing as possible in keeping with that story.
Yeah, who knows? It does give enough.
Which would spook them into voting out Mitch, and then it's predictable again.
Yeah. I'm leaning toward Mitch at this point, but I'm more than willing to give up points to have the game
Flipped
shook
upside
up.
down. Yeah, flip the script.
Flip it around. Ba-doom, ba-doom.
I'm with you, though. I
And-
think I'm going to go put Mitch as my vote out right now and keep thinking about it. I gotta keep thinking about what everybody shared. We had a lot of good feedback this week.
I also would still like to see them, kind of target Joe. Maybe Eva even plays her idol for Joe, and then bam, take Eva. Say somebody else wins
Oh, if she doesn't have
or-
immunity.
Yeah, that's a possibility as well, because I don't think she would necessarily be expecting that.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, she's not expecting anything but the outcome that she's described over and over again.
Yeah.
We'll see. It should be good. We should have some good, even with these rug pull episodes that we've gotten the last couple times.
Rug pull, huh?
Yeah. In terms of what you're expecting.
Mm-hmm.
It has been fun up until, until we end up with the predictable result. So
Expect the unexpected.
yeah.
And get what you get.
Good stuff. We want to thank everybody who took time to send in your thoughts and predictions and your analysis, your different perspectives, ideas for how to tackle challenges, all that stuff in the questions. I want to say a big thanks to Jill for your donation. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support. And helping us with our operating expenses. We got to figure out what to do laptop-wise. Our laptop we use for the podcast is over 10 years old now, and it can't be upgraded to... Yeah, and it's crazy loud, isn't it? Yeah.
When he turns that thing off, it's like...
So quiet. It's
There's
doing
been-
okay right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's having
It's-
some heat issues. Anyway, we appreciate that. We got to save up and figure out what to do in the next steps on that. And
Well, at
thank
least
you, Jill.
before next season.
Yeah, that's hopefully. Fingers crossed we can make it through this one.
And mine just died and went belly up. And then
Yes.
the replacement died right after Stacy transferred files.
We
And
got,
now
like,
we've
2 weeks
lost
out of that?
files, and we've just, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
with the computer stuff.
Yep, had some fun there. Anyway, Jill, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Your
Yes,
extreme
we'll put that
generosity. We
towards
appreciate
the
it.
expenses.
Yes.
Thank you. And if you're playing in JSFL, remember to make your Week 12 picks for one person voted out and 4 people who you think will be safe at the end of the episode, or whoever you have safe picks left on.
Well, in spite of the rug pull episodes, we're excited for the next 90-minute installment on Wednesday. We'll be back then with our recap.
All right. Have a very good Mother's Day for all the mothers out there.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. We are having Mom over here. I'm going to cook for her. So.
And we have a chocolate ganache cake with vanilla ice cream.
Stacy had
which
to
is quite
buy
good.
other chocolate so he wouldn't go in.
Just to get us through. So we would leave the cake intact until Mother's Day. All right. Have a good one.